Hello, everyone. How are you all doing this? Is it beautiful outside? Have y'all been outside yet? I know we're quarantined. Have y'all been outside? They got some fresh air. Hopefully you did. I'm excited to be here with you all and the invitation from Edunia to come up with this project. Like she said, we have been working on this in different variations of this. And not only did she feel the mandate, but I was like, yeah, it has to be done. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you some specific things, but what I need you to do before we get started, I need you to go find a container with a lid, and you can fill it with rice, pasta, you have rocks, but these have some type of substance inside of it. And I would go with a rice or a pasta. If not, you're gonna be shifting through a lot of stuff. So I'll give you a couple minutes to grab that container, and we'll get started right when you guys return. I want to welcome you all to the container, and I'm gonna give you a background what the container jargon is. The container jargon was my way of introducing people to what counseling really is. As you know, especially our people, the Black people or the Black community, do not go seek counseling based to ill information. Generally, back in the early 50s and 60s, if you had a mental illness, they would put you into a psych ward or a something. So most people believe if something was wrong with me, they're going to take me to the crazy house. So a lot of our people stopped going to seek help because most of them, which it was during that time period, they were locking up a lot of our people because of that time period. And racism, but it kept us from getting the help that we need. So I began to offer this workshop is a free workshop. Everyone told me I was crazy to do it because what they get out of this workshop is worth $300 per person. Just sitting. I began doing that, and so we've been doing it for 5 years. I've been doing this for 5 years now. So everything that's going to be presented to you guys is tested. Not only is it clinically tested, it's something that I have lived through personally. So it is something that I value, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So my first thought to you, as we all are in 2020, and it has been very interesting. So my first thought I want you to have is think about 2020. What were your goals? What were your objectives? And how did they outcome? I hope you all have paper and a pen because we're going to do a whole lot of writing and a whole lot of chatting. We're going to be very interactive with one another. So I want to make sure you're ready. So just think about it. Just ponder. What did 2020 do? What is it? What was it speaking and saying to you in 2020? What was the thoughts? Not the actions, just your thoughts. Think about your thoughts. And actually, if I can get you guys, I'm adjusting to this format. If you can actually type that into some of your thoughts in the chat box, and so we can have them strolling, so I can feel where you are. And now this is your thoughts, wherever your objectives were, your goals, some that you may have completed, some that you haven't accomplished just yet. That's where we are. That's where we're at in this part of the stage. Only for 2020, nothing for next year, nothing from last year, just this year. So we got. So I would say, I would share with one of mine's. I went back to school last year, so that was one of my goals to get another degree. How that process is going is quite interesting, but that was one of my goals. I went back to school. I'm not noticing any more change. Also, they said that be debt free, focus on ministry, get family affairs in order. Any others? The year of growth is your winning season. Okay. These are our thoughts. Just thoughts. What were your thoughts? What were your plans? What were they? Okay. So now you have that container, right? You see that container? You have your rice inside of it? I have my container too. This container in this seminar is going to represent you. This is you. The things inside of the container are the objects that have filled your life over this year. Now, what you're going to learn and come to find out is that you are not going to have control over most of the stuff inside of your container. There's going to be things in your container that have found their way inside of it that you didn't place there. And the reason being that is there are 5 things that affect how we think and operate. The first thing that affects who you are and how you do it is your culture. So based on where you come from, what you're born into, your culture, it already dictates who you are and who you're going to become. That's one strike against you. Secondly is your location. Your geographical location is going to be the second strike against you. Now, this is not even, I'm not talking about what you're thinking. This is stuff that's fighting against your thoughts. This is within your atmosphere around you. The next thing that you're going to have to worry about is your health, your physical health. Not even thinking about your mental health, but just talking about your physical health. The fourth thing you got to worry about is your education, how what you have been exposed to. That's going to be the fourth thing. The last thing we're going to focus on is your will to do. Is your will to do determined by your environment? Is it determined by your culture? Is it determined by your spiritual beliefs? What is impacting? So those are the 5 things that we have working against us just with our thoughts alone. Now, Martina was talking in the beginning how we have this village that we're creating. We don't really have a village in what we see in 2020, do we? The 5. I will go back over those 5 things. The first one is, what was the first one? Your culture. Thank you. The first thing is your culture. The second thing is going to be your geographical location. The third thing is going to be your financial limitations. The fourth thing is going to be your education, or those things that you have been exposed to. And then the fifth thing is going to be your physical health. Yeah, I did put that one in. So let's go back. Let's take out the first one I told you was going to be your culture, environment, where you're born into. The second one is going to be your geographical. The third one was health. The fourth one, that wasn't finances. I just told me.
Yeah, culture, location, financial limitation, education, and your will to do.
It was it. Okay, yeah, right. Let's go with those. We have your health, your will to do, your educational background, where you come from culturally, and your geographical location. So again, you might be wondering, why does those 5 things work against me? It has become very present and evident this year. If you're culturally Black, you will not go anywhere further than your neighborhood block. It has been proven that that system has worked against us for the 400 years this country has been called America. So we already have a disadvantage because of our skin tone. Yet again, because of our skin tone, we don't get the same education everybody receives. And with a person with me being born from the South, so I know it's a proven fact, we don't get the same education that the big states get. I'm from Louisiana, so my home state is ranked the number 1 state in the poverty, the highest rate in poverty. Our education rate is low there. So moving into a bigger state, our education is behind. It's like, oh, y'all doing this already? So the southern states don't learn what the up northern states learn. So when you talk about education exposure, you're not receiving information that could really get you to the level of where your thoughts are. Your physical health. If you're birthed with physical limitations, that impacts your will to do. That impacts your mentality. It impacts how you perceive information or receive information. So again, that works against you when you're trying to move forward with your thoughts. Your financial limitations. Based on where you are in your life right now and where your goals to be, begins to create that frustration and trying to achieve that goal or that thought. However, If we're diligent, you can, but that becomes the first obstacle. I can't afford it, so I can't do it. Your geographical location, based on where you're located, if you're in the rural area, you don't have access to having the stuff that you need. It's not there. So then you gotta go outside of your norm. It's gonna cost you more, which go again, take you back to your financial location. Your financial limitations. And now you're back to that step where I am not gonna do this thing. It's not for me. That's not what I was called to do. So yet again, your container is full of stuff, more stuff now, because now we have all these things from our atmosphere, our environments, that is impacting one single thought. One single thought. So you might be wondering, how do we get from the thought to an action? So just keep thinking that those are just the 5 things that nothing else has, we haven't encountered anything else, just those things automatically, regardless of who you are, where you're going, always going to fight against your plans. So while we're waiting on the PowerPoint to pop up, you can think about yourself. When you think about your individual self and your purpose and who you are, how does, and place that into 2020, how did that impact you? Were you your true, authentic self? Did you really do who and things that make you the person that you believe you're supposed to do? And one thing that me and Martina laughed about when we were studying for this, are you unwrapped? I have the 2020 unravel you. Because I use the word unwrapped, and it's very special on unwrapping and then unraveling. Were you moved by 2020 where you became out of your norm, where you operated out of your character? You were always frustrated. Something was always pushing that last nerve. Just think about the essence of who you are. And I want to put this out here. You're going to hear me say this a lot in this presentation. Legacy is the building blocks of our purpose. Our legacy is going to be the building blocks of our purpose. So when you break down, we've been discussing our thoughts. We discussed the 5 things that impacts those thoughts. And then I just ask you about your essence, who you are. Do you know who you are? Do you really know? Because I know, like most generations, after the 50s and 60s, we stopped having that dinner, come around to the supper table and sharing meals and sharing conversations. And now in our generation, I'm a millennial. So it's all texting and short text, like get straight to the point. I have stuff to do. But my heart is there. I hear what you're saying, but the long, drawn out conversation, it's for the birds. But how do we engage with one another? And it's different. I know. You might want to sit down and tell me a long story and write it on a sheet of paper, and understand, hey, text it to me. I ain't got time for all that. How do we merge the two and still have legacy? First of all, we have to come to the understanding that legacy is not a birthright. Legacy you can glean from any individual you choose from. So it doesn't have to be your family members, but you need legacy. Have you ever went out somewhere and you saw someone that was unprepared doing something and you were like, oh my God, I'm trying to think of the saying that people would say, but it's like a person without wisdom. Just run out there with the head, like a chicken with the head cut off. Because no one's prepared you for that. So you're just out there really doing stuff and you're not fulfilling purpose. You're just doing things out of opportunity. And all opportunity does not equal purpose. So your essence is who your true self, who God has made you to be. The thing is, we don't find our true self is because the first thing, culture. Our family thinks it is their second chance to live life again and begin to impose themselves onto us. So all of our learned behavior that we learned growing up is not really defining my essence. And due to fear and the lack of confidence in what we think we're called to do, we never challenge that one thought. Well, mama said I should be a doctor. Or mama said I could go work on the farm. Or mama said, our dad did this, but we never really followed our true essence, which will lead us into our true purpose. So I'm challenging, right? I'm saying these things. Do you really know the essence of who you are? Just a thought. Or maybe you were in school and you thought that you were really good at one thing. You might play basketball really, really, really good. And while you're playing basketball, you thought that was supposed to be your career. That was supposed to be your thing. Was that really your thing? Or was that your hype? So I'm gonna ask you again. Do you really know the essence of who you are? What other things in your environment, in your culture, in your geographical location, in your finances have developed you to be the person you are, but you're not fulfilling purpose? How many nights have you went to bed at night feeling that like you have done nothing worthwhile? Yes, you have produced things and been an active member of society, but have you fulfilled purpose? Purpose has a feeling that if I don't get a paycheck, I'm okay. Purpose has a thing that brings us joy when all hell around us is breaking loose. If 2020 doesn't show us anything, it should have showed us if we were living in purpose or we were living in opportunity. And I know you think about opportunity and we learn opportunity is a good thing. Oh, there's opportunity, but I'm going to challenge that word opportunity because opportunity only makes us adapt to what the environment is presenting itself, not really asking us to walk in our authentic calling. So, yet again, do you know the essence of who you are? So, I'm gonna let that ponder, the thoughts sit on your mind, but also look at your container. It should refill the contents. All those things you didn't place inside your container, and they're impacting who you are. Because what the essence you see is not you. It's a replica of the things you've been through and experienced that have adapted, that you have adapted to, and think that you're living out your potential of purpose. So let's move on a little bit further because we get to a little thing called our feelings. And I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there because Dr. D loves you, but I don't care about your feelings. And I'm gonna tell you this every day. I don't care about your feelings. And you might think it's rude, and you might think I'm just being mean, and honestly, it's not. Because I care about your emotional health. Feelings are attached to moments in time. We all have feelings, but that's your feeling, girl. You're gonna get over it, boy. Move on. Go sit down, think about it, and then come back. Because every moment in life, we have attached a description word to that, and that's called a feeling. Well, I probably went through the same experience you did, but I don't have that feeling towards that same experience. You get it? So no, go ahead. If you want to be emotional and go over a roller coaster, have that moment by yourself, but I only care about your emotional health. And when I say emotional health, when you're angry or you're sad, you feel it inside your body. Anger and happiness, it produces chemical hormones, endorphins that we feel. So if you're mad, yeah, you feel it in your actual physical body. Your feelings is the emotional high or a smokescreen that hides you from actually dealing with the thing at hand. So I'm going to challenge you the next time you get in your feelings, go sit down and think about it. Is it attached to the essence of who you are? And does it allow you to produce purpose? And we're human. Yes, we get hurt. And we have moments that we go through that we have to go back and really think about things. But I want to challenge you when your feelings are hurt. It's really in a defining moment because I was sharing with someone else too about the word hurt and things that we've gone through as African Americans and as this country as a whole. Hurt is a sign or a signal saying that you're moving in the right direction or you're being mishandled. It's a signal sound that alerts us to say, oh, I need to check that out. I need to investigate that more. Hurt should not be the defining of the moment. It shouldn't define who you are. It shouldn't limit you because of that experience. It should build you to a better person. And I was thinking about, certain things that we went through. that shows us a sign that we have been misled. Don't be hurt. Just say, oh, I've been misled or mishandled, but now I know better. I can do better. Don't stay in the hurt, because the hurt only makes you captive to itself. Now you're bound in bondage to a hurt or a feeling, and you're gonna stay in pain. Why don't you grow from it and heal yourself? If you want to be in your authentic self, you want to be the essence of who you are, begin to challenge yourself and say, hey, is that attached to my purpose? Does it deter my goals? How can I move forward? How can I press forward? And you see on the screen that movie called Inside Out. That's another reason why you can get engaged with the younger generation. Because when I say that movie itself tells you about all your emotional health and is written for children. And I, Dr. D, don't really watch a lot of kids' movie, but I fell in love with this movie I watched it 5 times, back to back. It's a simple story, but you get it right off the bat between emotions and feelings. And it paints that picture of when I was telling you that when you get trapped in those hurtful places, that pain that we go through in life, and if you get trapped there, it shows you how you feel and how it keeps you from moving forward. There are things that brings you joy. But when you put those things to rest, you bury them and move forward, they're a distant memory. They fade away. But when you harbor them and you stay in the hurt, you just miss your hurt. You just miss your essence of who you are. You don't move in purpose. And yet, if you don't know that, we have a limited time. So the more time you stay in hurt, the less time you have to fulfill purpose. So I'm gonna ask you again. We have discussed our thoughts that has been limited or impacted by five things that are invisible, that we don't know exist, but they're impacting. And those 5 things were, yet again, our culture, our location, our financial limitation, our education, and our will to do. So, the essence of who I am, my emotions, my feelings, I went from my feelings to my emotions. So now I know how to handle myself better. So when I'm really having feelings, that means I need to go process it. When I'm in my emotions, I'm actually healthy, in a healthy state, because it's natural to have emotions. What do I do next? How do I grow from this? Well, what is your purpose? What is your calling? How do you get to that place? You got to go to get really deep level. Now you got to take your container and open the lid up, because I'm not certain if you know that in closed places with still water or a still thing that does not get oxygen, it becomes very molded, musty, stinky. So if your container has a lid on it and you don't open it up, all that stuff inside you is rotting you out. Your life is nothing, it's meaningless, because you had a closed lid on bacteria that people have been sowing in your life that you didn't know was existing there. So now it's time to do the work. But guess what? It's your work. Every single little thing that you put in your container has to come out one by one. So one rock, I'm not sure if I have rocks in my container, but one little pebble at a time. It's time to do the work. So it's gonna make you go back and address all of those feelings or emotions that you didn't address before. And you say, Doc, well, I don't want to deal with that stuff anymore. I don't want to face that pain. Well, how are you expecting to grow and heal? How are you expecting to have the full power and be authentic in who you are and your purpose if you want to address the things that are impacting you from moving forward? How are you're gonna be confident and bold to share that with somebody else? How you overcame? You don't have the power. No, so you're gonna stay in the bondage? Just closing it back up. That's all you were born to do? Is to do something, be told and be the puppet? I don't believe so. I doubt it. So when you do the work, and you remember when you're revisiting moments, it's not for you to go back and relive the moment. It's to go back and go, what was purpose in that time? What was my purpose in that moment? What was I supposed to learn in that moment? God, what were you teaching me in that moment? Everything is intentional. The Bible says that our paths are ordered. That means that if you wasn't supposed to endure it, God wouldn't have taken you that way. So don't think that because you experienced it, that God was not there with you in that moment. It was developing the purpose that God has put in your life. So every place you've been has been ordained. Just go back and revisit the lesson that you're supposed to glean from it. Get the lesson. Oh, I got it. Now I can release that because because what you're doing is you're holding on to the bondage and the pain that you experience, and you miss the whole lesson. And remember, I told you the things that we have learned that impact our essence is a lot of times it's our culture. What we've learned from our family members have impacted how we deal with life, how we walk through life, how we handle life. And the reason why we're not even as great as we should be is because how we've been raised. So now you have to go back and unlearn every behavior that you taught yourself, or something taught to you. This is how you get to the authentic self. Unlearn behavior. Challenge it. And if you don't know, I'm the person that challenged every question. If you can't describe or explain to me why you do something, we can have a conversation. Tell me the why. But it goes back to our theme today, purpose unwrapped. Everything has a purpose. And if you can't explain the purpose of a thing in your life, it shouldn't be there. It shouldn't exist. You gotta let it go. Go back and think about it. Look at it. And I'm just talking about 2020. What was the purpose of 2020 for your life? Did it unwrap you or did it unravel you? And I keep saying unwrapped and unravel because when you think about when you unwrap a package, everybody does it at their own instinctive way. And they might be slow. Well, now that I'm older, I might do a little bit faster because I know like the right corner to hit and get right to the gift. Because I just want to see the name of the box. I don't really want to open it up too much because I don't really want you in my business. But I want to see what you, oh, thank you. I'm good. But when I was younger, no, you had all the paper wrapper. Yeah, messy. It was messy, right? But it was the thrill of going through the unwrapping. When you think about the unwrapping, is the developing stage. Each little tear was another a step of growth, a maturity. You embrace it a little bit different. But unraveling, when you unravel something, it's messy. It doesn't seem like it's going to ever stop. It puts you in a place that I don't think I would ever really would have done that if it wasn't because of this. Yet again, you're still being controlled by your environment. You've been dictated by the stuff that's around you. Why? Because I believe if you were walking in your true, authentic self, embracing your God-ordained purpose, your environment or your situations wouldn't move you as much. Because I believe purpose speaks to environments and not environment speaks to purpose. I think that's about right, right? Because if you're called to the thing, you go into the environment and you set up the standard. I remember you going to the wilderness and the wilderness said, nope, you can't be here. We wouldn't have all the great technology we have if we didn't have bold purpose. We wouldn't be the people who we are if we didn't think we had the dreams. That's the purpose. So, purpose, dreams, thoughts, our containers, the work. Now, at this point, I will go ahead and put a little plug here. If you don't have a therapist, get a therapist. Because there's some things that we can't talk out ourselves. There's some things mom and dad ain't gonna talk out for you. What a therapist can do, no, it's not for them to give you the answers. It's to help navigate you through the things that to make sure that you are gonna arrive to that right thing. You're making all the choices, but it's to help you and hold you accountable. And also, by law, we can tell a living soul. So if you hear your business, go ahead and call the court. Because they're gonna lose their license. Whatever you disclose inside the office is confidential. You don't have to worry about if your auntie knows or if your uncle knows, because they're not. And it gives you a place to deal with the things that you need to deal with and heal. But you need accountability. And if you're not ready to go to a counselor, find you a good sister, a good brother that's going to hold you accountable, that has your heart. Not your feelings, but has your heart. If y'all emotions and they jump when you cry and they jump when you have a little tantrum, those are not the people that's going to hold you accountable. They're probably the people are responsible for why you're at the state you're at right now. So, are you ready to do the work? So let me pause, enough said, a lot, rambling. Are there any questions that we might can address at this time too? From the information we received so far?
I had a question just around the things that you were talking about. When you talk about those five things that impact our container, everything that you said, basically the pandemic touched upon. So, how we responded as in our culture was different. You saw, especially the Hispanic community talked about here in Texas, talked about the fact that they lived in extended family environments where more people were in the house. It was a cultural thing. And so they had to respond to the pandemic a little differently. Then you had location, like we were talking about the difference. We saw from the election how the location changed things, the difference between how New York was handling it versus Texas. Financial limitations. We talked about how loss of job and all of those things that impacted education. As you said, that was definitely something where, you had to look at what was life going to look like after the pandemic, and did you need to go back to school to get training to do something? And then, of course, you said the will to do. Just did you have that desire to get up and do anything? Those five things all were impacted by the pandemic, which relates directly to health. So my question to you is, as I recap what you said, is just how then, with all of that in the container, how could you not become unraveled versus unwrapped? Because you were getting hit with everything all at the same time. Like your container took a huge hit. Can you talk to us about how we can respond to just kind of stabilizing the container after you've taken that kind of hit to everything?
That's a great question. And that's the reason why I created the glass jars. They're very fragile. They can take a lot of blows. But the thing is, you have to be aware, being self-aware. Know that you're hurting, knowing that you're in pain. Something that's not right, identify it. Don't just throw it to the side. So if it's something in your body, you feel sick in your body, don't wait till it's something major. And I think it's something with our culture that happens where, oh, I'll deal with it later. I'll handle it later. And it mounts up and it mounts up until when the last blow comes, it's way too late. So it's identifying each step, each phase. Anything that's a red flag or that rubs you the wrong way, deal with it at that level, and then move to address everything as it happens. So that was the way I would say, handling things as they come and not allowing it to mount. And knowing your temperament. Where are your buttons at? What's going to push you that makes you blow? How much can you take? Some of us are not really, what they say, strong. I'm going to mess that up. No, some of us don't have tough skin. Let me say that. Tough skin. So something that really bothers us, it hurts our feelings, and we gotta go hide and gather and come back. No, just know your temperament. We handle life differently. And if it's too much, say it's too much. And say this, I can't handle this today. Also, I would say, have your words of affirmation. What empowers, speak them over yourself. Okay, cool, it's gonna be a great day. I'm going to do this. And when that thing come to you, begin to say it, because you already know this atmosphere, you're walking into it. So speak into the atmosphere. No, these are my words of confidence. These are my words of confirmation. And so that way you're feeling empowered while you still have to operate in those type of environments as well.
So there's another question. Thank you for that. And there's another question. How do people overcome those 5 if the information is not readily available for people of color? Great question.
So yeah, again, I told you, I was stating that legacy is the building blocks of purpose. We have to, if it's something that is not readily available to us in our market, we have to be able to begin to look outside and get those resources, especially if you're in the community or if you go to church, engage in things that are not in your local area. So first I'm gonna say, those things you will never overcome. Those 5 things will always be with us in life, is knowing that what things are available and what things are not available. So it'd be easier to begin to look for those things. Okay, I don't have this here. Where would I find that resource that matches that? Or where do I need to get it from? But then it attaches that to our will to do. We have to begin to identify where things are lacking, and then know the difference. Like, am I lacking anything? And then once you identify with the things that you believe you're lacking, where is that resource located? How can I get to that resource? And then begin to build a bridge there. There's so many resources in our local church, the community students, like the Boys and Girls Club. We have so many resources that are available to us that we have learned, we're not engaging or pulling from. And they're sitting, when we were worshiping in person, they were sitting right next to us, and we didn't know that person did such and such or had that stuff available. Yet again, we don't have a village. We keep everything to ourselves. I worked so hard for this. I put my time in for this, but yet you're gonna go to a grave and leave it behind. So legacy is we give it away, because that way the person's purpose can build off the legacy. Legacy is not a name. It's gonna be put on a tombstone. Legacy is the influence that we have over people. That we share with just a conversation. Don't know how much that impacts them. And maybe they can run further with that, just a little conversation. So that would be one way I would say is finding the things that are lacking, and then maximizing our resources.
The other question is, does the church play a role? And I'm so glad this question came up. Does the church play a role, or is this a society issue? And I'm really glad we brought that in, because this, I want, if I could just say this, Dr. D, that when we have a momentum and moments, Sundays, when we come together on Sundays for these sessions, they always have a base in spiritual concepts, always. It is an extension of your worship. It's also the conversation, Dr. D, and I'm gonna let you answer the question, but I want you all to understand the context so that you can also consider that when you're giving us feedback, is that we want people to understand that they have to be transformed by the renewing of their mind. So even if they're going into the church and they're going into spiritual environments, if they're not making the transfer of the word into the work that Dr. D is talking about, they are then missing a piece that's a critical component. So as you're listening to this, I want y'all to, like I said, to the content, please consider that. So Dr. D, I'll repeat the question again, because this is such a valuable question and so much tied to the work that you are doing with the container jargon. Is, does the church play a role, or is this a society issue?
All right. Now this is container jargon. Ain't nobody's church, so don't come shoot the messenger, okay? But no, so church spirituality goes into culture, because the country club could be your church, the gym could be your church, your job could be your church. So a church is cultural. Worshiping is cultural. We all worship differently. So it doesn't impact where you worship. It's impact what you're gaining from the worship. Are the resources in the house? Are there opportunities in the house? Not how you're doing it, what are you gaining from it? Yet again, how's that impacting your purpose? Because some of us go to church and are not being impacted for our purpose because they're outdated for where you're going. So you're doing something. They're in 1960. They're living in 1960, and we're in 2020. The time frame is totally obsolete. You're going backwards. So what church? That is something that is your personal value, and that's personal to your personal values. You adapt it to it, but it's culturally because we all do it differently, and we can't hold people to the standards when it comes to their work, how they do things. We can't be putting somebody back into this container. It's dead thinking, stinky thinking. That's how you do it. Doesn't mean it's the right way. So church could be at any place of operation. We could be in Walmart and we could be having church. You could be, well, social distancing, take it back. Don't be in Walmart talking about it. Okay. You could be walking in the park, 6 feet apart, okay? Hey, keep it safe. But that is an exchange of information. So hopefully that answers your question, but I think it's cultural, and when it comes to place of worship.
Right. The next question, and I'm loving the questions, everybody. How do we address the things that are how do you address the things that are holding you back from purpose? Specifically addressing family concerns when individuals are not receptive to change.
Come on, somebody. So come on. So remember, your container is your container, right? It's fragile. I love this part. I love it so much. It's like when I say I don't care about your feelings. When your family don't want to accept your change, it's their problem. You don't gotta talk to them. Y'all related by blood. Y'all ain't gonna have no conversation. You still love them. We were commanded to love them, not like them. Because if they're not going to honor your choices, they don't respect you as a person or value your purpose on your life. So you have to draw boundaries. We have to set standards, boundaries. These are my boundaries, and you can't come any further. I'm dealing with this. This is how I feel. Now, if you need ways of communicating that, if y'all can't come together and be cordial and have a civilized conversation, put it in a letter, put it in the mailbox, and release it. The action is you addressing it and dealing with it and release it. There's nothing that says you have to talk to the individual to get a release. Once you feel like you have dealt with that thing and you have explored every avenue to be cordial and have a person-to-person conversation and it's not working, stop walking with the bondage. Hey, such and such is how I'm feeling. Moving forward, this is how I want to handle things. And leave it like that. You don't have to answer your phone call. You don't have to invite them to Sunday dinner. You have to do not. That's not a requirement. Family is a gift, and I think that's one thing we get messed up with these roles. All of us are our parents, and then our extended family are only part of us getting here and doing stuff inside the house. No, when your mom and dad had you, their assignment was to birth you into the earth. Then you go on and live out your purpose as an individual. But we have become somewhat humanized, and because that we are spiritual beings having a earth experience, that we get attached to the union of family and forget about purpose on our life. So when our purposes are not aligned, it has a discord. So I love you, sister and brother, but I hear purpose and I want to live out with the essence of who I truly am. So for me to have personal peace and power, these are my boundaries. And you stick with your boundaries. Just like when you tell your children don't touch that on the shelf when they go inside the store, the same way you stick with, I'm sorry, I'm not accepting calls at this time. I'm sorry, I'm not addressing that matter. I'm sorry that that's how you feel. No, take it back. I'm not sorry. That's how you feel. My bad. Because again, you don't want to personalize because you're not sorry. Because if you're sorry, you're going back to the same page. You feel that way? Too bad. Because that just challenge them to deal with the things that they have an issue that they have to deal with. And if you keep buying into it, they're never going to deal with that issue. It's not your problem anymore. We try to address. This is my feelings. This is where I am, my personal peace, my personal purpose, my goals. Nothing personal. This is where I am. Maybe in time we might come back together and be reunited, but for where I am right now, because yet again, that is going to impact your will to do. Even though it's a thought, anything that's built in that turns inside your mind that messes with your body. So when you're at discord with family members and you can't there's no common ground, you feel that in your body. Most of us are sick from our thoughts and not any physical element around you. Facts. But when you get your head straight and start thinking straight, get all that negativity out from around you, yet again, it just calls you to be authentic in who you are. Nope, I'm not going to do with that anymore. I'm sorry, I love you, but I love me more. I cut that off today. Thank you, goodbye. But yet again, it's not personal, it's your personal happiness. And if you don't care for yourself, no one else will. And they can tell you all that they love you and I like you and I miss you, but when you hang up the phone, you're not the person they're thinking about. And I promise you, they're not gonna think about you until the time they need something. Honest the truth. It's not until need that you're gonna pop up again. It's that they don't care about you. We are living out, you're putting on roles, you're maximizing the role of the individual, thinking and believing that's true, but in actuality, it's not. The only thing that you think about is yourself. And you probably think it's selfish and unhuman-like, but it's the truth because God only gave us one person to think about. It's ourselves. He said, love them. Love them. He said, you done this, but love them. Love my people. He actually did nothing but love on them. And you love them from a distance and you go on with your life. Love them. So deal with your drop boundaries. Boundaries.
Any more questions? Anyone has any more questions? So I have one more. So what we talked a lot about the container and what influences it, but you said something about legacy, and legacy is not your last name. Legacy is not. You talked a lot about what legacy is and the relationship of family. So now we're talking about many generations at this point being impacted by the same situation, but being impacted differently. So my question to you is, how do we start to have the conversations to create healthy relationships within the family? Because we're having to be in the house and be close to them. So how do you start to create those boundaries? How do you start to establish that legacy? Where do we start? Where's the beginning point for someone that's listening to this?
So the beginning point is valuing every person's opinion. I don't care if the person's 5, 2, 80, they all have an opinion and a voice. Mama, I don't like your cooking because it's nasty. That's that baby's honest truth. And you get mad because he talked about your nasty cooking. And so you dismiss that child's voice. You silence the person's voice. So now he doesn't believe he can say anything to you about your cooking. So to begin to build that bridge, every person has to be at the table with a voice. Everybody, regardless of how you agree with it or don't agree with it, everyone has a voice. Then, based on their level of maturity, you begin to shape in that voice to where when they know how to begin to present it. Your cooking is still not good, but I know how to tell you better. I'm not going to tell you, oh, girl. I can polish it better. Now we're talking the same language. Now I respect you're trying. You tried. I honor your try, but it wasn't good. Work on it. So now I'm not offended by what you're telling me. I can embrace it better. And so when I do come through a hard time or I'm dealing with something, I'm comfortable because you respect my voice. That's what we're missing in our legacy, because no one honors each other's voice. Because I think different, I disagree, I don't listen. So now we have all several people, we're all doing the same thing. Because we don't agree with how they do it or how they said it, we're disconnected. So legacy cannot help us with our purpose because we all agree. So that's where we have to start. We have to honor each person's voice.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Any, so this is the thing that you all have to know about Davion and I, Dr. D and I. We can do this all day, all night. Just give us some Starbucks and we going for it. In talking this through, and so I'm listening, and I'm just appreciating so much, because the pandemic has created certain it's made things very clear. 2020 was a year for clarifying and revelation and sight. When we started 2020, everybody was saying 2020, the year of vision, the year of vision. And it has been the year of vision. You have been placed, the vision of all that you have to deal with in your container has been revealed to you. So now it's time to deal with it. And I think one of the things that you said, Dr. D, about the container is that once you close the lid, that creates a place where the mold can start to grow. Because you close the lid, you shut down, you stop talking, you're not setting your boundaries, you're kind of letting whatever is in that container fester and grow, and it's rotten, and it's rotting you out from the inside. And that is what this whole pandemic has been about, is God saying, you all need to be cleaned up. You need to be sanitized. Church terms is you need to be sanctified. You Holy Ghost filled, but you need to be sanctified. You need to be consecrated. You need to be cleaned out from the inside out. And so if we're at the end of 2020, and like I said, we're at the end of 2020, and it was on your heart that God was saying, hey, you got to put this out there now and start to develop for later, because there are going to be some people who have been through entire 2020 and have not cleaned out a thing. They have gotten Lysol, they had wipes, they bleached the house down, they swallowed Clorox, injected it, did all kinds of things with the bleach, but they still are dirty and nasty and ugly and on the inside. So this is what we know we have to do. And so that's why I say you and I can do this all day, because there's so many areas that you have to clean out. There's so many you talked about the 5, but there's so much that's in that container, and depending on how much you have been holding in, really has to do with how much you have to clean up. So I wanted to, just pause there, because what you're saying has context, and it is relevant. The conversation is relevant. Yes, go ahead.
And I was going to mention it right before you start saying that, is that I want you all go ahead and get you a journal, because if I tell you this, by tonight, you're going to have instructions, and you need to be diligent to do what the instructions say. Okay, and it's not going to come back twice. It doesn't repeat itself. Go ahead and get your journal and do what it's going to, because now you're dealing with the container. So now the odds are against you. Okay, because it's something that you've been, according to your purpose, has been working. It's been dealing with. 2020 has probably showcased it, but it's something that's been earning inside of you. So just go ahead and get your journal, write it down, and begin the process. Because as long as you delay the process, it's going to, it's what they say, you throw it out one, it comes 7 times stronger. It gets bigger when you try to go back and deal with it again. I promise you. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, the work is hard. Get your journal, get your pen, and go get some tissue. But don't use some tissue too much, okay? You have dealt with this long enough. You know what it is. Address it. Go ahead and put the boundaries on it and move on. Okay, because one thing that when we were preparing for this, we already know, and Martina, I was adamant about happening today. So we're in number 12, which is the number of government, and you have seen the changes in our government. You are a representation of our government system. So number 12, so don't look at the people up in the high office. You are part of the governmental system. So there again, our government is changing. So you go 12. 6 is the number of man. So we can't go into a new thing. So go ahead and deal with yourself right now on the 6th day. So tomorrow it can be your new beginning. It can be completed. We're going to complete the thing. So we have our new beginning. So go ahead. So we're come out your flesh, attach it to your purpose. Come on, let's move forward. We know we're having an earthly experience. So get back in tune with your spirit, man. I know the church been shut down for a while, and some of them been logging in on Sundays. But come on back. He's still here waiting on you. You still got work to do. And then 2020 is double. So he's graced us. He gave us our grace times 5. You've been graced, so you've been covered. He's been holding you together when you should have been unraveled. Because I'm not for sure like y'all. 2020 it was a tougher year because I couldn't go outside. I couldn't see people. So there was a disconnection. So you've been graced to deal with what you got to deal with. I don't know what your package says, was in your container, but you've been graced to deal with it. Also, don't let your heart be exposed. Because what we saw in 2020 was the uncovering of the heart. He showed us who people really was. So don't allow this to go into your new season and you get exposed when you have the opportunity to deal with it. So I'm just telling you what I know and what I love. As it come, address it. Because I don't think you're gonna have the grace to cover it up this time around, the next time. That's all I know. Deal with this to come. Get your journal. Get your journal. Because I think that moving into our next year, 2021, I think that what we've seen with our presidential election, with the purpose that's inside of you, he gives us a glimpse of opportunity. The changing of the shift for females, it presented another opportunity. For men, our culture, it presented another opportunity. So as the shifting, I think we have opportunity that's being opened up to us if we be obedient to the shift. I think he presented us with a gift. Now it's a gift. It's been unwrapped. You can handle it how you want to handle it. Handle it how you want to handle it. You can get a gift. It's been unwrapped. He's giving us the signs. Are you going to shift with it? Or are you going to stick with what you know? He already exposed the hearts. I'm telling you, he's exposed the heart of the people. So you're going to be exposed, or you're going to handle the gift. It's your choice.
Dr. D, I need you to just talk about real quick what you just said about the difference between the female and the male. and the opportunity. You said something about the opportunity is different in the shift.
So 2020 has shown us what obstacles look like and how obstacles doesn't allow us to maximize our purpose or staying connected in purpose. So having the female as our first female vice president. Now, it wasn't that it wasn't an opportunity. It was always been an opportunity, just wasn't the right timing. So now it's presenting something that I told you at the beginning. Opportunity doesn't always mean good things. Just because I have the opportunity to do something doesn't mean that it's your purpose. But the shifting of the thing has presented a purpose in the opportunity. For males, it's something we've done. It's a ritual. But so now the changing of the guard is like purpose is aligned with opportunity. Just don't walk into every opportunities. Wait till purpose align. 2020 taught us that when purpose is aligned with opportunity, it produces. So, but you have to be in your purpose, not opportunity. Because a lot of us, not calling any names, went and got a job because our purpose got shut down. But it was your season to sit because you was uncomfortable with the change. You wouldn't got opportunity. Now you are miserable because you went after opportunity that wasn't attached to purpose. So that's why I'm saying living in your essence. Stay in essence. Don't move because it's an opportunity. I always say follow potential because potential is birthed with purpose. My purpose is universal wherever I am. But in 2020, I was counseling from home. I'm still a counselor. I just didn't go to work. I didn't change what I was called to do. I changed how I did it. My potential changed, not my purpose. So, but us, we've been taught to follow opportunity, and opportunity can be covered. It's a sheep in wolf clothes. Watch out for every opportunity. They don't got your back. They don't care for you. They help you hang you out. You do you wrong, and they walk over their hands clean. Watch out for opportunities. Stick with the essence of who you are. I promise you, if you stick with it, provision comes with purpose. I promise you, provision comes with purpose. Stick to it. It's a shifting.
That's perfect. Thank you, Dr. D.